What's up? I'm Andy Grammer, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
I was at the tour that you just recently did with Gavin DeGraw.
Yeah, awesome, man.
And that was my first time ever seeing you live. I've been a fan of your music,
Cool, thank
but I've
you.
never seen you live. And then the moment you hit the stage, I was like, damn, I'm hooked.
Ah, thanks.
Like I love Gavin, but you should have headlined.
Dude, I appreciate it. He's a good friend of mine. Yeah, man, I think that live is like really is awesome. It's important, right? You hear somebody on the radio or you hear them through in passing or something.
Right.
You got to come like see them. I remember when I was in high school and you like walk by someone in the hall that you don't know, and you have like all these judgments about that person, and then you sit down at the table and you have like a conversation with them, and you're like, oh, dude, I didn't know you were like that. You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of people feel that. Yeah, people feel that way when they come see the show. And the band is like jumping around and freaking out. We really go for it.
Well, the thing is, like, the record already sounds like full of energy and so much fun and all this. You can't expect it to like go any further than that, and then you see the live show and then you're like, damn.
Yeah, and it's fun today. We just because this is kind of like a big deal for us. I live like 15 minutes from here. We just drove right over, so we got horns and we're ready to like go for it today. We all live in town. It's a big deal for us. We're psyched.
That I'm excited to see that set tonight.
Totally.
So let's talk about the new single that just dropped with Lunchmoney Lewis. I want to say this is your first feature.
Yeah, first feature. Never had a rapper on before. Really, really great. You know, when you write a song like "Give Love" and you start thinking about like rappers, there's not like you start thinking like, all right, who's gonna fit on? There's probably plenty. It's just like my mind was racing to figure out who it was, and then we thought of Lunch, and we were like, oh, it's definitely him, and he crushed it. It's awesome.
And did you go into the studio with him on this track? Was it separate?
We like created the space for him and wrote a bunch of bass lines and got his section really tight and sent it off. And I was a little bit not like nervous, just like. Art isn't always like perfect, doesn't always work exactly like that.
Right.
And we sent it off, and what he sent back was so fresh. So it's great, man. It's really, really great. It's nice to hear that flavor on top of something that I'm doing.
Right. No, definitely. And for starters, I mean, I love your writing. I love how you tell a story. You and Martin Johnson from Boys Like Girls are like one of my favorite writers because you guys know how to tell a story.
You know what's funny with like lyrics, when you focus in too much so you can 100% understand what's going on, there's a fear that it gets cheesy. Like when you unfocus it, you do like a Radiohead thing, and you just like say a bunch of stuff that I think means something to him, but like I have trouble. You have to listen to it like 50 times to understand what he's saying. That's really cool. But then sometimes like I love growing up with people like Billy Joel, Paul Simon. These people you follow what like it's a story. Like tell me right now. And the problem with that is that it can get cheesy really quick. So I have to write so many to get to the place where hopefully it doesn't feel that way. Hopefully the story like connects in a way.
But it's gotten to the point where like your storytelling is so like nice that like I'm almost kind of curious to see what you could do if you were to write or if you were to be like a country artist.
Country. You know, it's funny and it's hilarious that Honey I'm Good was like such a big song because some people will come up and be like, "Oh man, you're like a country guy, right?" I'm like, honestly, that's like the one outlying track that just worked that day. And we were even going a little more for like Southern Baptist, like, but it just, in my voice, it came out sounding a little bit like pop country. But yeah, I haven't done very much country before, but I'm a fan of like the storytelling, totally.
You got to write with Jon Bellion,
yes,
for your last album.
Yeah, totally.
When you write with artists that are just as great with writing, like what is that vibe like in the studio?
So initially, like I started out just being very against co-writing because you're like being a bit of a purist.
Right.
I think the thing about co-writing is when you are confident in yourself and you know what you want to bring and what the stories that you want to tell, then having collaborators is amazing because you're not worried they're going to throw you off your path.
Right,
you bring your path and they help elevate it.
Right.
And it's kind of like being, I imagine it's like if you wanted to build like, I don't know, a Japanese style house. And you know what you want, but you go get an incredible architect who's done a bunch of those and you build it together. Then it's like, man, some of these, now you start writing things that you might not have been able to reach by yourself, and that's really cool. That's really cool.
And with these experiences, like, have they been teaching you,
Totally.
like, how to write differently?
So I'm on like 106 for my next album. And what that means is there's probably like 20 that I'd be really bummed out if people didn't hear. And now we're producing those up, and we're going to see which ones make the final cut. But all the other experiences that are still pretty good songs, I just learned so much from all these top writers. And I see the way they mess with the meter, the lyrical structure, the melodies, like all of it, you kind of pick up as you go along and hopefully get better at the craft of songwriting. Right.
Now, as you mentioned, like meters, do you focus a lot on the production side of your work as well, or do you leave that to them?
Totally. No. I mean, the hardest part is to get the songs, to get these stories, to get what you're saying to be correct, so that when people hear it, they feel it. And then once you have that, now I'm in the phase of we're going in and trying to get the production to be correct. And I have a lot of thoughts and ideas about that, all the way down to like that snare is just totally not correct, or that we need a choir right now, or so I get kind of involved. Yeah.
And how do you transition it from the album? Like I was saying earlier, the album sounds great and fantastic, but then you see yourself live and it's a completely different, like it's another machine.
I just grew up kind of like as a street performer, so sometimes almost on my detriment. If I don't have you hooked, you're gonna leave. Right? So and I've had to learn how to like get off that a little bit, because you can't be coming from a place of fear. Right. But in the beginning, for 4 years of my career, was just like, if this isn't working for you, you're just gonna leave, and then I'm just gonna be standing playing to nobody. I think it was an interesting way to get started, because now when I go play a show, like I try to make just like we just keep coming at you and making it fun and interesting, and it's fast, and everything just keeps happening. So by the time it's over, hopefully you're like, holy shit, that was awesome, I had a great time, And I've learned more as we mature. You do find the spots to like, all right, I'm gonna take you down for a second, and we're gonna give you some like a slow jam here where you can get into it. But it all kind of rests on this roller coaster. How do I make sure you have a great time? So by the end, you're like, awesome.
Do you think your live sets would have been different if busking wasn't in the picture in the first place?
Totally. I want to. Some of my friends, you have a lot of different bands that you tour with. There was this one band that I played with one time, OAR, and I found that they were like, there was no roller coaster. It was just like straight the whole time. Or like a Dave Matthews Band, or like you go see these like jam bands that are like, and that's a totally different way to do it. Right. And I remember watching, going like, oh man, that's working. Yeah. Like it's totally working for them. But for me, up to this point, I'm like, I want to take you on a ride. That's what I love. So maybe someday I'll get to the other place.
That might be a little bit interesting if you're not moving around as much as. Exactly. I mean, you were jumping everywhere. Like I'm surprised you didn't crowd surf at the Greek. So jumping into the third album, you just mentioned like third album, right?
Third album.
106 tracks that you've already like worked on. I know you're expecting your first newborn. So I'm sure, like, I mean, all your music has always been happy and energetic. So how much has this experience right now like influenced the new record?
Man, it's been really, really sweet. Just I've been saying the dictionary changes a little bit. All these words that you write, especially with love songs, there are going to be probably a couple love songs on the new album. It's going to be a little girl. Yeah. And depending, like if you say a certain lyric in this direction, like to your wife or to the girl that you're with, you say like, you and me will be always. You say like, that's a lyric. That's a cool lyric. It has power, and depending on how you lead up to it, it feels good. Right. If you sing it down to a little girl, you and me will be always. That's the same lyric, but intention and the whole thing is like, whoa, that's super fresh. And so I'm watching like words change. Man. That's been really fun.
That's cool. I feel like everything's gonna change. Like the day she's born, like I feel like the way you write is gonna change. The way you tour your life is gonna change. Like
I'm looking forward to that, man. I really am. It's been really fun up to this point, but it's change is good. I'm down. Let's do it.
Now, aside from that change, what else is different on this time around on the record? Are you trying new instruments? Are you trying new things?
I think really what it is, you just keep trying to be more and more vulnerable and getting closer and closer to the essence of what it means to be alive. And the problem is that a lot of what I've done so far has been very trying to get to the essence of what it means to be live when you're uplifting, happy, and trying to figure out, well, okay, so there's a lot of other colors. What do those sound like through me? So there's going to be, I think we did venture a little bit into some of the other colors of my life.
Nice. And speaking of like happiness, like how are you able to maintain 2 albums already and multiple, tracks that you've released, and they're all like happy and energetic? Like we're going through rough times and they're still happy and energetic. How do you keep?
I genuinely do believe that even something like tests, like when things are going shitty, that you grow from them. So like rarely in my life do I just go like, yeah, things suck. Right. I genuinely don't believe that. So then my music reflects that feeling. Right. I think that what's hard about that is that you have to find a way to make sure that when you're saying something about being uplifting or something positive, it has to be grounded and true. And I just find you have to write a lot of songs to get to those stories or those messages that are believable. So my first single that I wrote, Keep Your Head Up, I wrote that after my mom had passed away and I was totally broke and I was on the street. So I think one of the reasons that song took off is because it's not just like some guy being like, be happy. Like if you can feel through me going like, I'm kind of screwed right now, but I do believe that we keep pushing and things will get better. And without it being grounded in some pain, then the good stuff is hard to take in. That's what I find.
And as you're writing 100 songs for 20 to choose from for a record, or 15 to choose from for a record, how do you see your writing like evolve? Like what have you seen, like how have you seen it grown the most?
Yeah, a lot of like I said, like getting to write with some of the greatest writers in the world, really. I mean, everybody's in LA. It's amazing. And one of the sweetest things about having some success is being able to collaborate with these high, like, incredible minds. And again, like I said, you get to learn these little tricks about melody that I think are really fantastic. About, when you start out, you just start singing things that work. And then when you're in the room with these masters, they'll say like very concrete things about, we should start here and end here because it'll make you feel this way. Right. And so that has been really, the last 100 songs, I feel like I've learned a little bit in that area. And then also just about trying to be more and more and more honest and letting people in as much as possible. Right. Yeah.
Now we're here at the festival, first year for Pasadena to put this festival. It seems like it's going awesome.
Seems like it's going really well. It's freaking hot. It is hot. Holy crap, man. It's gnarly hot, but I'm excited.
What else can we expect for you right now? I know you've been on and off at a few dates in the past month.
Probably looking, to me, as soon as I get this album locked in and done exactly how I want it to be, then we'll definitely tour it. We'll figure that out. I'm going to Australia. I'm touring Australia in October, and so maybe something after that or early next year.
Awesome, dude. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for continuing to make great music and keep doing those insane performances. I look forward to seeing that. You guys be sure to check out Andy Grammer. The new single's out now. It's called
Give Love.
And you should pick it up because?
Because we need that, right? Don't we all need to give a little more love right now? I feel like,
And it's his first feature.
Yeah, go get it.
Check it out. Thanks for watching.